So since we were talking about inspiration, we
kind of hold up, because he was finishing.
Basically, I was just saying like, yeah, like I'm me just all right, or just looking off your social media, even if we don't talk, like I can see all the good things that you did.
Academic wise, like math and many foundational arts, religion, and just the positions that we held and what our communities looked like before they were touched by white people. So, and then for us to be the greatest and have the best and be the first, then get everything taken from us and have to rebuild it from the ground and still somehow out of nothing, then also still be on top. So it's not even just the trauma, but just the fact that where we came from, what we had to go through, and still to have nothing and be everything.
With me when I'm in my element. Every day when I'm in hustling.
Welcome to episode 4 of The Kitchen. I'm your host, Kirsten, and today we're going to be talking about inspiration. I've got Montez, Sydney, Michael, whatever, Dion, and Billy to help me push the conversation along. How you guys doing? How you feeling? Good?
Good.
Bet? You feeling loose? You ready for the convo?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to start. It's inspiration. So just off top, what inspires you? And it could be anything, like professionally, socially, whatever.
I'll say seeing other Black people succeed, especially in the space that I'm in. Trying to be a lawyer and like knowing that we're not that big in the field, and just seeing people get jobs at firms and, seeing things like that, people getting their offers and whatnot. That really inspires you to like work harder and, just know that it's coming for you as well. And just know that it can be done.
It's the top 1%, correct?
Something like that, like 2% in the field. Like,
yeah.
Wow. What about you guys?
I really get inspired when I see people push the envelope in a way that's meaningful and also kind of like, it has to be respected. Like when they do something that's like usually considered like unorthodox or outlandish, but they do it in a way where it has to be like recognized and respected.
I feel that. I agree. Like, I think definitely for me, it's like pushing the envelope. It's pushing the envelope and succeeding. Not even necessarily succeeding, but more often than not.
Getting away with it. Like,
like if you can do some shit and do it your own way and niggas have no choice but to like respect your gangster, that's definitely some inspirational shit. Anyone else? I'm talking about.
I get inspired, by my family. Honestly, I get inspired by my aunt. My aunt is an entrepreneur. She started her own brand, and not only did she start her own brand, she allowed her family to start their own brand. She inspired her husband to do entrepreneurship and do housing real estate, and she put her family in positions to where they all could win and succeed. So, thank you.
Is that your shout out to Jada? Shout out to Jada. Okay, go ahead.
I think I get inspired really also from my parents, really my dad. He's someone like, the typical immigrant story, someone that just got it out the mud, like 1-bedroom apartment, like 20 people type of story, and, doing well for themselves. So just seeing that they were able to do it, just honestly, just people that really legitimately got it out of the mud and are really doing it big now.
Yeah. I get inspired overall, like by success and seeing people happy. I think you can get inspired from different things. Like you can get inspiration on a career side, you can get inspiration from a family side. I would say somebody who inspired me, I would say from both would be both of my parents. They definitely have their own story in themselves, but they work through their trials and tribulations to become successful. I would say somebody else who inspired me, I'm wearing a jersey, they would be Kobe. More so, I mean, definitely he was an athletic hero, but also like look at the light he shined upon being a girl dad, and just I don't have any kids, but I'm just saying like just shining light upon like more marginalized like people in sports and things of that nature like that. So I think you get inspired just by success. I'd be inspired by myself sometimes. You feel me? Like you be doing what? You don't ever do nothing. You be like, I did that, and then you want to do something else. You be like, you be like, all right, now to the next thing. So I think just like from hard work, dedication, and just success like that, that can, and failures, because a story can really inspire somebody. You be like, dang, you went through that. That's crazy. It inspires you.
Yeah. So do you feel like your inspirations have changed over the years? So like, for example, I think that like growing up, I grew up in a very like sheltered home where we were really taught like one very distinct way of life and way things should be. And then as I got older, which limited who I was inspired by, I would almost kind of judge certain people and like not be open to seeing like you were saying their successes because I was kind of like clouded by who they were as a person. And then as I've gotten older and just become more open as an individual, like I'm inspired by like a lot of people who I don't think that I would have necessarily been inspired by when I was younger, or even like certain movements that I didn't think would really impact me, like specifically like being a woman and being inspired by like sexual liberation. Like when I was younger, that was something that seemed so like taboo and like inappropriate. But now as I get older and I really like, just kind of experience life, like those kinds of things inspire me. So do you guys think that your inspirations evolve? What kind of things do you think have contributed to your like personal evolution of what inspires you?
I mean, I definitely relate to the sex work. Well, the sex liberation example, like I'm definitely inspired by strippers for a multitude of reasons.
For real.
No, honestly.
Yeah.
And so is the culture, though, if you think about it.
Valley.
You just not only just strippers, entrepreneurs in general. So, but that person that is a musician is now selling lashes, selling brands, selling hair, doing things like that, pretty much messing or connecting or pretty much collaborating with the biggest rappers that will put them in a position of power and things like that. So yes, I'm definitely inspired by that because you would think about it. For example, Black China, a stripper that's in DC, literally is now worth $4.5 million as January 2020. So you went from stripper making, maybe you make a man a day or whatever. So you're a millionaire, you're a multi-millionaire, and you establish and you have connections with some of the billionaires or just anything in the media. You came from DC, you came from nothing. And unfortunately, as a result of that, her mother exudes all of those levels of ratchetness and things like that. Tokyo Tony, but look at where Black China came as a result of that. So it's like, so do you give accolades to her mother or do you give accolades to her? But those are still things that inspire us because think about it. Her mother put her in places to pivot, to do better than her, but then she's the one that actually instrumented and demonstrated those characteristics to do better than her mother.
But even tap into that, the idea, because I feel like that's like in this inspiration conversation, I feel like that's something that could kind of be controversial. The idea that someone like Black China would be considered inspirational, and why when having this conversation, I feel like overall there's a very like narrow-minded view on who and what can be inspirational. Like some people would say, oh, she's a stripper, she has OnlyFans, she sells lipstick. Why is she inspirational and the doctor's inspirational? You get what I'm saying? So like why do you feel like people think like that? Why is there a divide?
I feel like you get inspired off the story though. You get inspired because she is a stripper, because the likelihood of her being a dancer and making it to where she is small. It's a small likelihood. You don't see many numbers like that. So people get inspired from stories. People get inspired from like, oh, I can't believe if something was very likely for it to happen, like you don't really get that inspired about it because you already expect it. But when something's unexpected, you get inspired.
Can I rebuke what you're saying? So I guess on the contrary, and like I want to say it was 2008, Chris Rock said that. He said in his neighborhood there was Mary J. Blige, the greatest R&B singer there was. There was Chris Rock, one of the greatest comedian there was. And he said, and you know who had the biggest house on the block? A dentist. Somebody that just did a regular job. I'm not saying that a dentist would degree anybody that has a degree, anybody that's an MD. However, we have the greatest of all times of African Americans. But however, as a Caucasian counterpart, you're just a regular dentist, and you would aspire to make millions and build your brand. You are better than this person, or you're on the same level as this African American that was to have all of that. So I guess my question is, so how do we really equate the value? And can we say we systematically we have to be the best just to be something that's just extraordinary or just regular as the next person?
I think on one end, like I agree that in every aspect, just being just like Black people of color in general, you have to be 2 times best to get where they're at, right? But I think kind of like a little bit along the lines of what you were saying, I think a big part of it is the fact that like in the past, it just hasn't been representation in that aspect. We just haven't seen it, right? Like if people are going to strip clubs before, it was like on the hush, it was like low-key taboo. There were just certain aspects you just didn't see, right? So the money may have been there, but it wasn't there like it is because there are eyes on it, right? So to get to that level, maybe, because honestly, he may be a dentist, but there's probably something else he's doing. He could be investing as well, right? So I think the biggest thing is that, like, once there is representation in a certain area, it's easy to get inspired, to see that. Like little black girls seeing like Princess Tiana, like that, that's unprecedented, right? So now that there's representation, people can be inspired by that. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing for me. Is just that once we get the representation in certain fields, I think it's
so. You
fine.
think uplifting a marginalized community can inspire a mass because there's still a community behind it.
Right. It doesn't, but if you think about it, like, also, I don't want to say, like, take that, like, marginal, black people are, marginalized communities, like, that's what we are. But in a sense, you see that black culture, drives the culture, like, whether it be pop culture, just life in general. Like, so once we start to, lift that representation, you start to see that more and more often. Like, you start to inspire other kids, whether not necessarily to be a stripper or a sex worker, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like, it just, kind of breeds an entrepreneurial spirit. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, I agree. But unfortunately, the way society is, the same thing they will uplift you for is the same thing they will hate you for as well. And with that being said, it brings the colorism aspect. It brings the level of aggression. And it says that marginalized communities, the darker and the fair-skinned individuals, not just men, but women as well, that if you command and you demand a respect, you are aggressive. And it's like, how dare you try to go after the things that you know you are deserving of having. So it's like, therefore, these are my God-given rights. And because I'm going after them, I sought after them, it's like, so we forget Frederick Douglass' double consciousness. And I just become this aggressive person that pretty much is a savage, and it's like I exude the level of savagery that pretty much contradicts all of my human rights, and they are no longer valid.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So you were hitting on, like the same reason people will like praise you and be inspired by you is the same reason they will, kind of be against you.
Correct.
So do you feel like, and kind of tapping into what you were saying as well, Mike, about representation, because of that mentality and an overall lack of representation, do you feel like as a community we're more inspired in terms of what we want to be, or more inspired in terms of what we don't want to be?
Mix of both.
Why do you think that?
Because an example,
is it even mix or one more than
like 75, 25? Where we at?
Society expects you, because as an example, we set ourselves to be 2 times better in the head. So therefore, as we say Black Lives Matter, we have to say, you do not have to be a lawyer. You don't have to be a doctor for your life to matter. You can be a bum. You can be a hobo in the street. You can just be a regular citizen and your life still matters as well. But as a result, as an African-American community, we have set a standard from doing 2 times better that people think that the only lives that matter are people that are college educated, people that are extraordinary.
Who are people that's thinking these lives matter? Because the whole movement, they're seeing you as black. Like you're not walking around with a name tag of your professional occupation on you. So no matter your presentation.
Okay, I'll say this. Not to rebuke what you're saying or to cut you off, but however, Freddie Gray versus me. Freddie Gray was somebody that was on the corner, somebody was in the projects of Baltimore, Maryland. However, he was murdered by Baltimore City police officers. Yeah. Somebody that was me, that was an upstanding citizen going to work. I would have caused more uproar and controversy than Freddie Gray.
I don't think so.
And it's because of the mass media that went out there. But however, how it was portrayed and actually said in the comments that were on those same posts that said, if he was someone who went to work and he was somebody who was an upstanding citizen, it wouldn't have hurt.
So you saying Freddie Gray was more of an uprising than Breonna Taylor?
In a sense, yes.
But
because
you just contradicted yourself then. You just said Freddie Gray was more of an uprising. You said that
I said I would be.
Yeah, and Breonna Taylor's you. Because Breonna Taylor is somebody who was...
She went to work.
She was
a state employee. She was a government employee. She would have caused more of an uprising. But you also...
I don't necessarily know that...
You can't say the same thing because, I hate to say it, there's a male versus a female.
I was going to say,
I'm a male.
That's true.
I am a male because I am expected to take care of my household. So because I'm a male that's an upstanding citizen and this and that, because even if you look at the stories of Breonna Taylor, they will say it was Breonna Taylor that was with her boyfriend. They will not say it was Breonna Taylor within her home that she was taken care of. She was the breadwinner. We did not hear those glorious things. It is expected for me to be a male to take care of my household, for me to be the breadwinner, for Breonna Taylor somebody, my co-companion that I'm sleeping with,
Right.
to just be an additional add-on.
What
So
I'm
pretty
trying to
much,
what I'm trying to
me
say
and
is
the
this,
bones,
right?
She would just be the bones that I left.
Within our community, you might see some type of class system, or you might see some type of separation
I mean,
between.
it is.
But no.
It is there.
Within the community, we might see it, but outside of the community, it's not too much of a difference. Right. Until you open your mouth, or until, like, that's the reason why presentation is so big, like how you present yourself, because people automatically have a misconception of who you are, or what you might be, or what you might be about. But you're
Westside himself, even in your bench, you still the nigga.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I'm saying. So you breaking down the internal, you breaking down the internal, maybe the class system, or the internal separation within the community, but externally, people see it
like that, and you just dark skin. That's all.
Exactly.
So that's what I'm saying. So then, is that like your way of saying that, or is this like an example of like you are inspired or you move based off of what not to be?
For me personally, I think I move more of like what not to be. I think I'm very big on like not making mistakes that other people have made. So like I'd much rather see not necessarily how you did it, but like where you messed up while you were doing it. You know what I'm saying?
I can agree with that, because my mom personally told me my biggest module growing up was do better than me. And I thought about it. I can do anything that's better than you. Not saying in a cocky or condescending way.
Just as long as I'm not that.
Exactly. And that means I could also fail too. But at the end of the day, I still achieved something that was better than you. So even if I fail, I still gained a level of hierarchy over you.
So what do you guys think would then be like the kind of...
Hold up. Because he was finishing.
Basically, I was just saying like, yeah, like me just off the strength of, me talking to you, having a conversation with you, you could tell me all the things that you did right, or just looking off your social media, even if we don't talk, like I can see all the good things that you did. But what I'm not seeing are like the sleepless nights, or when you maybe lost money doing this or doing that, XYZ, blase, blah, I just want to see where you made the mistake. Like, where did you, put your money when you did this? Like, or even where, you took a class by this professor and you shouldn't have because it messed up your GPA, or you did,
The transparency.
So going back to your question, I'm someone that would rather see, I get inspired off of like what not to do.
But I think that poses a problem within our community, because I think other cultures are seeing the blueprint and they're just executing based off of what they see, as opposed to us who are just running around. We're just out here trying not to repeat actions. And we're just kind of doing trial and error, as opposed to really honing in on what the pathway to success was for us. One, being that person who obtained that level of success and being open to sharing it. And two, being the person who wants that level of success and being open and receiving of hearing it. Until we are able to, I feel like, have that kind of relationship, and we continue to be inspired by the things that we don't want to be, then it's kind of like where are we really going to go?
I feel like,
go ahead, man.
I feel like you gotta be more positive about things. Like, I'd go about it like I'm more inspired by like things that I can do. So it's like, don't be afraid to like fail. Like,
so no offense, that's a lackadaisical.
Hold on, bro.
That's a lackadaisical approach.
All right, but I'm saying like, don't be afraid to fail, because like, say you fail at doing something the first time, it doesn't mean that you can't try again and succeed. Like, it's people that don't pass the bar the first time. It's people that don't get into law school the first time. It's people that don't get into college the first time.
And I agree. I just think that it's the mentality of like, oh, it's okay, like I can just do it again, as opposed to being like, no, let me sit back and figure out who actually did it right.
But I say this though, Kirsten, you saying, all right, other people have the blueprint, right?
Other cultures,
cultures may have the blueprint, but think about how many people that you may know in 2020 that were first generation college students, or were first generation, you know what I mean? Just
but I'm saying, no. You know why they push that on you? Because of the blueprint of other people.
Yeah, that's true.
The blueprint, you look at the white people, you look at other cultures of people that are educated. What do? They go to college. So we take that and then we preach that to our children. Wait, but listen, we take that and we preach that to our kids, as opposed to also preaching to them, you're also not white. So that white kid going to school and getting that degree and getting that job. That's their blueprint because that's what they are able to do. We don't take that and then make it our own. We just take that and stamp ourselves on it, which is why when we get into corporate America, we run into all these problems because now we have to, as the black person, talk to the white person, but nobody taught us that. Or we have to make the resume, but our resume can't look like their resume if we want the job because we're black.
So are you saying like less of a blueprint? Because you say you could take the blueprint from anywhere, but lack of identity almost.
Yeah, you have to do both.
A lack
of just experimenting, take the blueprint, but then also kind of assess where you are as a culture within the society that you're trying to execute in, and then teach that blueprint.
So tell me when you talk about identity. One second. When they tell me about identity, right? When you talk about a culture, a people who was stripped of their identity, it still take time to figure out your identity, but you 100%. still want to per se win in this society. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about
us.
I think for us, we have the luxury of being sandwiched in between a lot of information, 2 generations that are going to move in 2 completely different ways. We have the luxury of bringing all of that information together and being that unifying generation that can be the mentors and the mentees to teach a more refined blueprint than the one that was kind of force-fed to us. But I think that if we are not necessarily being inspired by the way things have been done correctly and just saying, oh, well, my man's over there failed, so I'm not going to do that. And my man's over there failed, so I'm not going to do that. Instead of saying, well, let me sit back and figure out who actually did it. And then once you figure that out, I think the major piece, especially for us as black people, is having that person who did it being receptive to sharing. Because we have this distrust within our community. People don't share it.
2 things. So first thing, so even though like I'm more inclined to look at like move off of what not to do, you know, how people fail. It's not saying that that's like the exclusive way that I'm doing it. Like, yeah, I'm going to reach out to those who did it, but I'm much more inclined to, you know, figure out and see how this person failed to not go that avenue. So that's point 1. But then also point 2 is like, how do you navigate it? If, like you said, in our community, we're probably some of the few people that do this, but like, we have this mentality of like, you know, like I'm not trying to jock on this man, or, you know, I'm trying to, you know, I got to win, make sure I'm good before I share that.
But where does that even come from?
Honestly, I think it's just how I feel like it's almost like in our makeup low key, because even if you think in like the music industry, like, you know, people like certain artists get in trouble for maybe having ghostwriters or for having, you know, taking somebody's flow or certain things. Like that's the case in hip hop, but it's not the case in pop. It's not the case in R&B. You know, some of your favorite artists, you know, Beyonce had ghostwriters.
So you feel like we try to be too original?
We go out of our way to not even just to, we try to
be so original that I'm not copying you in no way.
Yeah, and it seems like in every single industry, it's like, I'm not trying to copy, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to share, you know, I'm going to get it on my own, however I get it. But it's like a mindset that only I feel like we have, because to be honest, there's money in every industry. There's so much money.
Person will understand that.
There's enough money on it.
If I'm country and you country, we just gonna get it. We gonna win.
Right.
I mean, I think white people in general, like, they have this mentality where they.
But it's not just white people either.
Yeah, I think it's.
I feel like it's just
it's everybody except for black people.
Right.
But I think white was mentioned.
Yeah.
By Kirsten, so I was just going with that. But yeah, like they have this culture where they really look out for each other and they carry each other on their back. Like, if I get the promotion, I'm gonna set up a lunch with you and the boss so you can get in the job too. Well, and they don't even think twice about it. And also, I feel like even like households that are not black, like the parents literally like, you can stay here for as long as you need. Don't worry about the rent. Like, you know, just work, get you a good job. We're not going to charge you until you're ready to get a house with your family. Then we can give you the money that we saved up for you to get that house. We can give you the dad's business. Like, everything is handed and prepared and handed off nicely to them. They walk through the process. They're explaining it's a partnership the whole way through. Whereas black people, like, I feel like they're trying to kick you out the house as soon as you're 18.
How dare you? How dare you disrespect me? How dare you say anything? How dare you disrespect me? How dare you make more than I made when you were 18?
I would disagree. And maybe I'm coming from.
I
think
that's rare.
That's how you were reared.
But I'm coming from a different light because I'm around brothers and sisters that uplift each other, and we make
sure. So how do you find that though? What was the pathway that you took to find that space?
I think that having a positive foundation and just your family, whether that's your blood family or people that's just so close to you that they take care of you and show you that love, that they're like family, you know. But I think when you have a good foundation, you're able to kind of seek out the energy and the vibe that you're putting off. If you know what I'm saying, like if you are like, okay, I say like I have friends that I've had since elementary school, you know what I'm saying, and I had friends that like me and Billy met the first day of college. You know what I'm saying? And that was 5 years ago. What?
10 years.
10 years ago.
That's 10 years.
That's 10 years ago. But I'm saying like when you push each other, you hold each other accountable. Like the things that you want for yourself, you should want for them. You like when I see my man's winning, we winning. If he see me winning, we winning. Because at the end of the day, like I say, you should be an open book and don't be worried about getting burned because you can control what you can control, right? You be the best person that you can be. And, you know, just like if I got a resource to give to somebody or if I think something can help somebody else, why wouldn't I offer somebody who especially who looks like me, why wouldn't I offer that opportunity to them or just, at least let them connect with somebody or something to try to elevate their standing.
Are you cutting off friends that don't think like that? Like people that you got that don't want you to win?
That's a good question.
I would say you distance, but distance comes naturally because you know what, your interest gonna start being different. Like when you still interested in doing this, but my interest is in doing this. That's when you gotta have your own. You have your own integrity. You your own man.
Let me give you a hypothetical.
Go ahead.
What if y'all are first day of college, same major, y'all trying to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. Y'all are on the same course, not the interest. Y'all bang the same music, like the same girls or guys, like whatever it is. Like, and then you find out like this person is one of those types of people. Like, I'm not gonna try to, support you unless I'm winning type of situation. They don't want to see you higher than them.
Wait, hold on.
I've never had that happen, so it's like,
is that active cutting off, or was it the same distance type of
to be an active cutoff? You got to just violate. You got to do something that's in straight violate because then I'm gonna actively cut you off because you violated me.
But you're a cutoffer. Like you cut off, right? Are you a cutter? Are you a cutter?
Very often.
You're a cutoff. Are you a cutoffer?
I mean, I don't feel like I really like cut people off. I feel like it's more like if it's distance, it's distance. Like it's not really like a problem because like I don't really have anybody that's really done nothing too bad to me. So it's like
I'm like I need to say it like if okay. So in your specific situation, like if I have friends that are fucking up, like I'm gonna tell you like, bro, you're fucking up. Like I'm the not nice friend, and I'm gonna just say it. And
we know
some things I feel like.
But Kirsten, is that accountability or is that cutting off?
So first, it's accountability because I am wholeheartedly inspired by all my friends. Like all my friends really have pieces of them as a person that I really am inspired by and motivated by, and I need that because I think just like off the strength of being a Black woman in America, like I don't really have like a lot of trust in the systems around me, so I really rely heavily on the network that I can like physically speak to and physically talk to and physically touch. So just for my own growth, I have to have people around me that I'm inspired by. So if I see you, but I'm also very big on expectations and communicating expectations. So if I see that, you're falling off or you're doing some shit that's whack or you're doing some shit that I know you really don't want to be doing, but you want to co-sign for me so you don't feel bad about doing it, I'm going to tell you. But if you keep doing that shit, like I'm going to have to cut it off because eventually that energy, it's going to be a level of animosity because I'm going to be like, yo, I'm really working hard and, trying to grow for the sake of everyone around me because I think that
Can
shit.
you give an example?
Of like someone that I've had to cut off for shit like that?
What is that shit look like?
So like, okay, so for example, I have a friend, I've been friends with him for like 5 years. And there have been little instances in our friendship where I have been at a stalemate in life and I've been like, you know what? I need a new job. I'm getting a new job in 2 weeks. And he'll be like, yeah, me too. In 2 weeks, I'll have the new job. He doesn't. All right, I'm about to get this certification. You were talking about like tech. Let's do it together. All right, bet. Let's do it. I have the cert. He does not. So it got to a point where I got to a place where I was like realizing like, wait, I'm like one, working for me, and two, like really trying to help you too. Because these are things that you say you wanted. And you're not feeding back into me.
But
and you're not doing the things.
Him than he want for himself?
Yes, honestly. And that was a conversation that I had to have. But if you are telling me that you want these things and I'm doing them for you and you like just drop the ball. I feel like for me, it's kind of disrespectful. Like I'm trying to get where I need to go and I'm nowhere near there yet. So me taking this time out to kind of put you on too and you just fumbling after fumbling after fumbling and we talking about it like at that point it becomes a distraction and a detriment to me.
I think after the first, not the first, about the second or third fumble, you gauge some expectations. If I want something but you don't want something, I'm not even gonna continue to put you in that same realm.
But that's not what she said. She said that it was expressed that these were mutual.
But she's moving forward, and then this person like, oh dang, you got this cert.
No, you aren't meeting me where I'm at.
It's not even you're not meeting me where I'm at. You're not meeting me where you said you wanted to be at.
Got you.
So as
you're
someone
taking
who,
that as like an active.
one, you wasted my time, and two, what can I draw from you?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
She said that as a friend, that could also be a partner as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess my question is, how do we move past that?
I mean, it's just like it is what it is.
And
it's
how
like
do we choose when it's appropriate? So if it's a partner, do we have more leniency than we would as a friend?
Look, inspiration, it feeds your soul. That's how I feel. When something inspires you, it gives you energy. It motivates you. It pushes you. It moves you. So if you're around something that's not feeding your energy, that's not feeding your soul, you don't have to really sit with that. Like you'll feel your shit is off instantly. Like, yo, my energy's not right. This isn't feeding me. Like I'm not inspired by this. I'm not moved by this. And like, I'm just someone that's so heavily motivated by being inspired. And I just like when I feel inspired, it's like literally someone took a battery and plugged that bitch in my back and charged it up even more. Like, you know, it really, I can't stop. And I need that because like, and I'm sure you can relate. Like, I'm telling you, like, there's so many facets for us as Black women to pull from. But then on those same facets that we're pulling from, there's so many people shitting on those facets that we're trying to pull from too. And I'm sure, you know, as a Black man, you guys can relate in your own right. But I need the people around me to be inspirational. I need to be able to draw that energy from you. So I'm going to give it to you, give you the energy that I got with the hopes that at some point that battery will be in your back too. But eventually my spirit and my soul is just going to get tired. I'm not going to be inspired.
You set this friend off?
Oh no, we talked about it. I told him 2021 is a wrap.
No, that's smart.
I told him I couldn't.
That's smart. That's
because it's like, who wants that? Like I got this going on. I got this going on. He's
would you say, or any of y'all say that you compartmentalize or that you like put people in certain categories in your life? Because Kirsten's saying like inspiration, you need the full inspiration, right?
I need to feel that.
But I would say for certain things, I'm not going to certain people to feel certain inspiration. You feel what I'm saying? It's some people I might go to, and I know we could talk about really anything, or we could do anything. Like it doesn't matter.
Okay.
But some people, like I give you an example, right? If some of my friends that I may have had years ago, and we still may be associates, say we grew up together, right? Their life may be completely different than my life. I still love them exactly the same. But I'm not really like, the conversation when I'm around them is going to be completely different because we're not really on the same level in certain things.
So maybe I have a bias, or I'm more, I guess, realistic than you, is because if I'm here and you may be there, I can appreciate and I can accept the love that we had there, but this is where I'm at. So what you're saying, I get what you're saying, but however, it's not the same.
Do you?
And it won't be the same because I can't comprehend it personally.
Okay, wait, real quick, because I do want to move the conversation along a little bit, and I want to talk about what has inspired the culture. So for us as a Black community, what are some things that you feel? I know you mentioned Kobe. I feel like that's off top.
Well, Kobe, but
like Kobe, MJ was his, like, after watching The Last Dance,
right?
Like, but like, what are some things like that?
I'm gonna say resiliency. Resiliency. All right, I'm gonna go with the MJ thing. I'm gonna go with resiliency. Resiliency inspires the culture because, as a small subset, like, of course, Black people are the most popular people in the world. But when I think about the culture, I'm thinking about Black American culture, right? And how it fuels the whole world. Like you look from the music, you look from the dress, you look from like even the language. Like it fuels the world, and everybody wants to be. It's cool to be you until you're you and is on the negative side. So we've been resilient, and I think everybody sees that, like, oh, these people have been put against odds for years. You stolen from your country. You get stripped of your culture. You go through Reconstruction, Jim Crow. You go through all these systematic racism. Like, And you still and still in 2020, we marching down the street, Black Lives Matter movement, but you still find a way to smile and have fun and be yourself and find joy in that. How?
Yeah.
I think for me, this might sound a little bit negative, but I think for me, I think it's for us. I think, in my opinion, I guess like the trauma that we've been through is what kind of inspires us.
Damn.
Yeah, like
that kind of sucks.
It does,
Yeah.
but like out of the like the most like the worst trauma that any of us have experienced, like some of the best things that come out of it, like we've had like hip hop came out of like trauma that was happening in New York. I mean, like with this Black Lives Matter, that's trauma that we've kind of found ways to get legislation passed. We've got like certain like no knock warrants have been in a lot of places made illegal. Like you can't so it's just trauma all around is what has inspired us, and it's like trying to get under away from that trauma is what kind of pushes the culture forward, whether that's the negative outlook on it. Or,
so I think we saying the same thing.
Right.
You saying trauma, that's from the negative. I'm saying resilience.
Resilience
is the ability to fight back. Trauma is you taking that.
For me, I kind of look at the picture a little bit bigger timeline wise, and I think of like how like before all that shit, we was like the greatest on the earth. But so much has come from us academic wise, like math and many foundational arts, religion, and just the positions that we held and what our communities looked like before they were touched by white people. So, and then for us to be the greatest and have the best and be the first, then get everything taken from us and have to rebuild it from the ground and still somehow out of nothing, then also still be on top. So it's not even just the trauma, but just the fact that where we came from, what we had to go through, and still to have nothing and be everything. Like just that whole thing is just like.
Yeah. We the cool kids table at lunch. You can't sit with us, but you want to be us.
Now we at the cool kids table, but we don't know.
Right, exactly.
But you say that, but however, if you look at studies and research shows that we the coolest table, but however, we also the most accepting table as well. So unlike every other culture or background, African Americans are the most likely to allow other nations or dominations to actually sit with us.
But you also have to understand where that comes from, because Black is a lot of different things. Yeah. So it's like, I feel like we kind of touched on this on the last episode, that Black people are very inclusive. If you think about it, Black can be so many different things. So like, I mean, on one hand, I kind of understand like where that would come from, because it's like all these different things are Black,
Yeah.
I mean, my theory historically is probably that we didn't maybe feel as intimidated. Like our goal, we didn't go to different countries
trying to take.
We was cool where we was at. So I feel like it's kind of like in our nature to not have that intimidation and be okay with building relationships and bridges, whereas other people might not have that same mentality because their agenda is different.
Oh yeah,
and you almost
that's a great point. That's
like
a great point.
Just to piggyback what you saying, we was cool where we were at, but we were taken from where we were.
And then we got
so
cool
now
there.
you got infused with all these kind of different cultures. If you were taken somewhere as Spanish speaking country, you might got a little bit of Spanish. You know, so Afro Latino. Then you have your African American. You got your Caribbean. You have people from Africa also, like your continental African. So the diaspora is so wide.
Yeah.
That we have to be accepting of each other. Just sitting right here, just us 6 people, we're all diverse in our own right, whether it's regions of the country that we're from, whether it's regions of the world, or even our ethnicities or nationalities. Like, so we got to be accepting to each other, and that make us be accepting to all kind of.
How much of that you think is because we, at any given point in time, we've understood what it's like to be, if not discriminated against, we've understood what it's like to be put at the losers table. So because of that, because we know what that feels like, we don't want that to happen to us.
I don't even think it's that. I just think it's like we're not really taught to hate nobody.
We're empathetic. We
like,
are
our parents, like, I don't know if your parents ever said some like real wild hateful shit. Like, nah, we don't fuck with this race or that race. Like, my people never told me that shit. So it's like,
see, my parents are from Ghana. Like, my family's from Ghana. Ghanaians say some real, like, wild, like, out of the side of your
I'm glad you said that on camera.
No, any Ghanaians watching this, like, you know what I'm talking about. They're just certain things about other races.
Is it wild or is it honestly?
Very much.
They have a non-jaded view of what actual society is. Maybe this is how we should be. maybe they didn't adapt to Frederick Douglass' double consciousness, and they
Is
just
that
have
Frederick
a
Douglass
single
or
something.
W.E.B. Du Bois?
I think it's W. Du Bois.
I feel like it's Frederick Douglass.
Is it? I don't know.
Frederick
I'm about to look it up.
Niggas
While
wasn't talking
y'all,
about
y'all,
double consciousness.
Right.
y'all keep going. I'm gonna look it up.
But
I'm
I
about
would
to
say
fact check
when,
you.
like Billy was saying though, when you start talking about like the hatefulness, if in nature our people was hateful, we would have never been in the position we are now because we invited Europeans to come study at our universities.
fuck.
We invite.
I'm ready to go.
It
Go
was
ahead.
in fact W.E.B.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's my frat brother. So
You're an alpha?
mm-hmm.
You look like it.
Why? Oh wow.
Okay, all right. we not
Yeah,
gonna do
alphas
this.
lack
you should-
inspiration.
You should touch on that. She just gave you the. I don't know what face that was.
Okay, so real quick before we wrap it up,
Oh,
we shout out the
sure.
brands and all that stuff. So since we were talking about inspiration, we were talking about all of the various ways that we pull inspiration. We talked about representation. Going forward to this next generation, we got Gen Z. And, I feel like they're a very rowdy bunch. They're a very unapologetic bunch.
Rowdy.
And I think that with the proper guidance, with that proper place to pull inspiration from, their energy could really be targeted in like a crazy way. So if you were sitting here talking to someone from Gen Z, where would you tell them to pull their inspiration from? And I guess we could just go around real quick.
Honestly, I don't think it's from me. I think that in a sense,
We just talked about not where it's from, where it is from.
I would say this, as a result, I think I may be whitewashed. And I think as a result, I may not have explored who I am exactly. And as a result, I may have been a chameleon. I've been able to adapt to certain things where it's been an advantage, is also a disadvantage. So Gen Z, I feel like if we look at today's society, people are applauded and people are loved for being exactly who they are. So find out who you are before you adapt to certain things. So still have the credentials to be qualified for what you need to be, but still remain you in the process.
So like you said, be inspired by yourself.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of gonna say the same thing. Like, be inspired by what makes you happy and what leaves you feeling good about yourself when all is said and done. That's what I would say.
I would say to be inspired by things that you've actually researched or that you are aware about on your own, not stuff that you see on TikTok or Twitter or anything like that. Just take the time to research it before getting inspired by something that could be completely left or wrong.
That's fair.
I would say really be inspired by your history because your history is you. John Henry Clark had a quote, and I'm not going to quote it verbatim because we've been fact
I was
checking.
about to say, I'll fact check it out.
History is a clock, and will you tell your political, social, and something else time of being, right? So if you don't know how that clock goes, a clock is a continuum, and you will repeat there if you don't know what your forefathers or what the people before you have been through, and then you put your own touch on it the same way we put our touch on the generation before us, and they put their touch on the generation before us. We should continue to build, be inspired by those people. Like go talk to the elders in your life. Like be inspired by people who come before you and see how you like your energy, how you can uplift that and move it forward for the people that's coming after you. So that's what I would say.
What you got for us, William?
I would say be inspired by success of your peers, because like at this point there's so much that you could do to like really make as much as you want. Like say you want to make 6 figures, whatever you want to do. Like you can be a YouTuber, you can get into tech, you can get certifications, like you can go to college, it's so much that you can do nowadays that really wasn't an avenue earlier, but it's available to you now, and it's not, it's not extremely expensive. It's like you can really make it out of pretty much nothing almost. Like, and you can see it all around you. So just don't be afraid to go for it. Like if you fail, it's cool. Keep trying. Everybody fail. Every time you fail, you're supposed to learn something along the way anyway. So come back harder, and you know what not to do now. So
yeah, and I'll wrap by saying to find inspiration any and everywhere. I think that, a lot of times we're taught that certain things should be inspirational, so then we close our eyes to the things that we could truly be inspired by and we would least expect it. So just really open yourself to being inspired by any and everything. Like you said, being inspired by successes and failures. So before we're going to wrap, we're going to take a second to highlight some of our brands that you will see on our Instagram page, kr.kitchen. Montez, what are you wearing?
I'm wearing Milano de Rouge. Milano is a brand outside of Philadelphia. She did a Meek Mill.
I'm about to say, you say what you want, Meek Mill, baby mama. Say what you want to say.
She had a baby by Meek Mill.
Like
She's in
black.
Philadelphia.
But prior to that, she was like very successful and very
She
loaded.
was. She didn't need him to do that. So, most kudos to you.
Sydney, what do you got on?
I'm wearing Rob Reclusive, Rodney Sawyer, his Reclusive line. It just dropped. I'm going to try to show you all the back real quick. It says an eye for an eye, fuck 12. Anyway, yeah, go check it out.
Mike, what are you
So I got
wearing?
Arrival Worldwide.
Our
Shout out to
friends.
Winton Spence. Dope. There's also stuff on the back. I don't want to knock nothing over. You can't see. You'll see it in the bio. And then I also have my man.
Oh, a 2-for-1.
2-for-1. Yeah. So Franco World. You know, shout out to.
Oh my God, that Gilbert Arenas?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
Cameron Butler.
No.
No.
That's Brendan Haywood.
Yeah, Brendan Haywood. Yeah.
Yo, I had a Gilbert Arenas bobblehead when I was younger.
Really? This is the man. So
They used to
shout
let us
out
go to the
to
games
Rob
for
for
free.
Yes.
Everybody get the game for free. Boys and Girls Club.
An era.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm wearing Always Working. It's my God Brothers band. He's based out of Baltimore. Soft goods, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts.
I'm actually wearing a black-owned sports store, All Star Sports. You can catch them PG. You catch them in throughout the DMV area. They also expand to other cities. And then also my hoodie is Support Black Colleges, which is a black-owned brand, Howard-based. So yeah.
Leave it to Howard, ain't you?
What you drinking
y'all
on,
always gotta
good
shout
brother?
yourselves out.
Oh, we also drinking on. We decided to try the Michael Jordan tequila today. How you pronounce that? Sincorio.
Sincordio.
Sincorio.
It's Sincordio now, actually.
No,
That's more Italian than Spanish.
so y'all not watching, just listening. The bottle's half gone. That's why he said it like that.
Yeah, you know, we put a little dent in it throughout the show, so.
And you know, we always keep it sassy but classy. So we got the sparkling champagne by our faves, the McBride sisters. Billy, you got anything you want to shout out? Or your mom, your dad, anything? You know, they're black.
Not really.
Follow us on Instagram at kr.thekitchen.
almost
Watch
wanna
us
take it back
on
now.
YouTube. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. As always, follow the page. Tune in for our episodes of In the Kitchen, where we're cooking up some good eats. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys for episode 6.
And there's no food in the kitchen.